How would you like a wonderful double-smoked andouille sausage with juniper, garlic, cayenne, red pepper flakes, and other seasonings? Smoked, stuffed, in the comfort of your own kitchen. Look at that. Or perhaps a delicious smoked breakfast sausage is more to your liking. You can make that too. I'll show you how you can easily make up as many pounds of delicious sausage in your own home here on this episode of Smokey Dave Presents. We'll begin by preparing this nearly 10-pound pork butt by cutting out the bone and any tendons, silver skin, and anything else we don't want in our sausage that would give it an unpleasant mouthfeel or could potentially gum up our meat grinder. Now we'll be keeping all that fat you see there, and in fact we'll be adding some additional fat from fatback that you'll see when we go to grind our sausage, because andouille does require a bit of extra fat in it. Now as I trim this out, there are a lot of little small pieces there. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to put them and gather them up into a cheesecloth bag before I put that into the ice brine. We're going to be putting all this meat into an ice brine that's just basically salt, water, ice, and I did add a tablespoon of curing salt just for protection during the cold smoking process, just like we do when we make our cheese. Now I'm just using a standard cooler here, and I just poured the brine, this ice, and put the meat right on in there. And we'll just carry this out to the smoker. I'm using some alder and applewood today, kind of a mix together, and I'm filling the smoke generator to the top as we'll be smoking for 3 hours today. And as you can see, I have a full smoker with cheese, hamburger, our sausage pork, and some nice pork spare ribs. The smoking is done now, and I'm going to put all of this pork into a vacuum bag and let it sit in the refrigerator from anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. I ended up leaving it for 48 hours. That's to allow the smoke to fully penetrate into the meat. We'll vacuum that down, and then we'll fast forward through the magic of video editing and start grinding our pork into real sausage. Oh yeah. After 48 hours, I chopped our pork into approximately half-inch cubes. I also added some fatback chunks because andouille is a sausage that requires a bit more fat than some other sausages, and more than was in this pork butt. Then we need to get our pork down to just below 32 degrees so the fat does not smear in our grinder. I just threw this pan into the freezer for about 2 hours before I grind. I also put the grinder parts in the freezer as well. Don't forget this step, it is very important. We need this cold temperature to ensure the best grinding rather than smashing, smearing, and tearing the meat, as that will produce a low quality sausage and most probably will jam up your grinder and make you not ever want to make sausage again. And that would be a travesty. So now we can finally grind our meat. Because we took the time to cool the meat as well as our grinding attachments, we are getting those beautiful ground meat worms, if you will, instead of a mash smeared glop. And this is exactly what we want, because we can easily mix in sausage ingredients now. Now I'm using my KitchenAid grinder attachment at full speed, and it's grinding beautifully. And that's because we prepped properly. Can you say that 3 times fast? Anyway, I'm making 2 4.5-pound batches, and this first batch is going to be a basic breakfast sausage. Very simple to make, Very easy. But would you look at that ground pork product? That's basically, I mean, you could do that with hamburger, make your own ground beef. And this, of course, is ground pork. And that's really what sausage is ground pork plus some ingredients. And it can be stuffed or just cooked as patties, which is what we're going to do with this batch. Hey everybody. Some YouTuber guy who's supposed to be a guru told me that if you want to get a lot of views, you gotta show your eyes. You can't be always hiding behind those glasses. Okay. You know what to do, ladies. And get your friends to subscribe too. And while you're at it, check out the link for my new t-shirt. If you're gonna cut the cheese, just make sure it's Smokey Days. Oh yeah. You know you want one. And now back to the video. So we got a tablespoon of sage. And I grew that sage in my garden. A tablespoon of toasted fennel seeds. Teaspoon of thyme, teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Now here we got a little less than a quarter cup of maple syrup. I don't want to put too much of that in, and I don't want to put that in with the dry ingredients. I want to kind of mix these around in here first. So we'll do that. Then I'm just going to start taking little pieces of my meat here. Start working that in, and I'll pour some of that in with it. I'll put some more meat in on top. A little bit more of that in. Alright, put the rest of our meat in. And we're going to mix this in the mixer. This is the mixing bowl here. We're going to mix this on the slowest speed. Get those spices mixed in. So now we're going to mix our sausage and ingredients. We're going to do this for 20 minutes or so, basically until the entire mass becomes quite sticky. And it's going to do that because the proteins are going to develop. And it'll eventually get to the point where you can hold a golf ball size in your hand and turn your hand upside down and it'll stick to your hand, even with the gloves on. That's what we want. We want the sausage to hold together. So now I'm going to make some patties, standard breakfast patties, and I'm putting them on parchment paper. Again, I'm using a little bit bigger than a golf ball size for each one. But this parchment paper will keep the patties separate even when they're frozen, making it easy to take the patties, the number of patties that you want off without having to struggle with it and having paper tearing and that kind of thing. So I highly suggest that you get parchment paper. It has 1,001 uses anyway. So we're going to make a whole bunch of patties, and it turned out that I was able to make 20 patties out of these 4.5 pounds of sausage. Well, I'm going to fry up a couple of these breakfast patties because I'm hungry. I'll put a couple of those on the frying pan. I didn't use my gloves because I'm going to be eating them. And let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, they came out delicious. Smoky, with the sweetness from the maple syrup and the spiciness from the fennel and the hot flake. Wish you were here. sausage. So that was part one of our sausage making adventure. And the next part is when we're actually going to stuff the andouille sausage, and we're going to make it too, because of course we start out with the same base as we did for the breakfast sausage. But the andouille has a whole bunch of other experiences that we need to do before we finally have our final product. Too much for this video, so I decided to split this into two. So stay tuned for part two coming up. And don't forget, it's no joke. Everything's better with smoke.